Thank you for joining us again this beautiful Thursday morning here on 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are your number one for news, absolutely number one for talk, sports, just name it, lifestyle, entertainment. We have got you covered. We are your station. We're broadcasting live to you from our beautiful audio-visual studio located in the heart of Lagos, here in Victoria Island. I am Sheriff Quadry. Today on the Morning Crossfire, we'll bring you one of the biggest Lagos stories making the rounds for over 1 week now. You really should have missed the interesting conversation. Now, what's your view on the proposed Lagos tax expansion plan, which may affect the cost of BRT, the bus rapid transit fare, in order to meet up with current realities? This is what the BRT operator told the media. Well, here is what you should also know. Some commuters of BRT in Lagos last week also expressed satisfaction over the proposed increase of fares by the Primero Transport Services Limited across all routes in the state. Is this true? Is Primero planning to increase the fares of BRT? Just wait for it. Your answer is just around the corner. We would like to feel your pulse as well on this subject in the course of the show, which has started right now. We will also be speaking with the Primary Transport Services Limited operator of the BRT at this hour. He's joining us right now on the phone. Well, you can join this conversation live on your devices through our social platforms, Facebook and YouTube. Just search for Nigeria Info 99.3. Nigeria Info 99.3. You can also follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM to follow this conversation. We're also streaming live on, like I said earlier, YouTube and Facebook. Our phone line should be given out in a moment. Our WhatsApp line, you should take this down, please. The WhatsApp line, take it down, because we're going to use it for our conversation all through the show and all through the day on various shows. The WhatsApp line is 0809 597 5805. That is 0809 597 5805. And guess what? If you're stepping out of the house right now or you're stepping out of the car, you can actually go online to our website to be able to catch up with the conversation. We're streaming live on our website, nigeriainfo.fm. And do not forget to read up news on this conversation. Shortly after we're done, the news will be there on our website. Pronto. Remember to leave us comments using the hashtag Morning Crossfire, that is on Twitter and other platforms as well. Watch out for clips of today's conversation on our Instagram page. The Instagram handle is at Nigeria Info FM Lagos, Follow us on Instagram. Please do that. Once again, we're discussing Lagos tax expansion plan. To do justice to this, we have joining us, he's here in the studio with us. Gbolahan Olojede is a financial expert. He's chartered accountant, by the way, and a financial expert. Well, thank you for staying back.
Thanks for having me.
To handle the other area of BRT's proposed increase in fare, I have in the studio, not in the studio as a matter of fact, not in the studio in that effect. He's joining us via the telephone line. Mr. Fola Tinubu, the Managing Director of Primary Transport Services. Mr. Tinubu, good morning to you.
Good morning. And thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Let me start with you, because you told us that you are on your way out of the state, so we won't want to keep you for that long, so you can embark on your journey. I want to know, Lagosians want to know as well, what is truly the true picture of the arrangement between the Lagos state government and Primero, the operators of BRT in the state? Because the reason for this question is Lagosians have been asking, the state government buys these buses, then hands it over to Primero to operate, and yet Primero charges Lagosians that much money to be able to move around through the BRT. If the state government is using taxpayer money to fund the procurement of these buses, what is really the arrangement between Primero and the Lagos state government?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say clearly now that we have not announced an increase.
Okay.
What I did was I did an interview and I said I'm going to approach the Lagos state government to seek an increase, because I've seen lots of figures being banded all over how much we have not announced an increase.
Right.
That's number one. Number two is Lagos state government did not buy our buses. We bought the buses ourselves. Lagos state government does not have one kobo in Primero Transport Services.
Okay.
Primero Transport Services is a fully owned, privately operated company. So Lagos State government did not buy buses or give us buses.
Right.
We bought all the 404 buses ourselves.
So if I may step this further, you mentioned earlier that you're planning to approach the authorities for an increase in fare. Was it price currently being charged by BRT dictated to BRT? Because I'm wondering, if you're a private, fully owned private company, why do you need permission to raise your fare?
Because the agreement we signed with Lagos State is that before we can do that, we have to get Lagos State permission. We have to get the Lamata's permission.
I'm sure that an ordinary danfo driver doesn't have to go and sign an agreement. Why did you enter into this agreement? Why?
Well, because Lagos State is trying to organize to get a proper world-class bus services, and whether we like it or not, there's a social element in our business, and we recognize that from day one. But our argument is this: yes, we entered the agreement, and there's a mechanism that if we can show that our costs are not being covered, they will allow us to increase our price, and that's the mechanism we are triggering now. But what I've been saying for the last 3 years, and that everybody needs to understand is this: if we want a world-class service, it has to be paid for. The question is who pays for it. But you cannot pass the social responsibility of a state, of a government, to a private company.
What do you mean by it has to be paid for? I'm still unclear. Are the buses being boarded freely by Lagosians?
No, that the cost must be covered. They're not, listen, in the last 15 years, you know that the price of buses in Lagos has only gone up one time in the last 15 years. Are you telling me that what were, the cost of Naira was the same 15 years ago as of now? Everything we use on the buses are imported. Unfortunately for us in this country, we don't manufacture anything. And are you telling me that the cost is same as 15 years ago? What I'm saying is this, okay? We need to face facts, okay? If everybody wants the world-class service, because what I hear everybody talking about, we want more service, we want this, it has to be paid for. You said something earlier that therefore, don't wait for or don't get transition to increase their prices.
Sure.
But they charge more than us right now. But their cost is less than us. Therefore, don't insure their vehicles. They don't insure their passengers. They don't provide health insurance for their workers. They don't wash their buses every day. Okay. Right. They don't have ACs in their buses. All of this we have to do. They don't pay. Taxes for retirement or stuff for their workers.
Right.
We have to do all of this. Our cost structure is a lot higher than and they charge more than us. What I'm saying is we need to have an honest discussion.
Right.
Let the commuters sit down, let the operators sit down, and let the government politicians sit down.
I want to be very frank with you, Mr. Tinubu. Let's talk about the true state of your company right now. Are your books balanced? Are you making profit? Or what you're saying all along is that you're running at a loss?
Yes. Point blank, yes. Everybody talks to me about service. Oh, we want this. But nobody's talking to me that the banks are charging us commercial rates at 20-something%. Nobody's talking to me that, Naira goes up. I'll give you an example. Last week, when the U.S. attacked the Iranians and all that,
Right.
the price of diesel shot up. We had to buy diesel at $2.50 a liter. Nobody's talking to me about those. Everybody talks to me about services. We want more. But nobody talks to me about the cost.
But here is another angle to this, Mr. Tinubu. Before I go to Gbolahan,
Okay.
we know that this is business.
Yes.
You know that you don't determine whatever happens to your operation because you have to employ, like you said, so many other external factors will dictate how you run your business.
Yes.
And yet you signed a contract that said that you cannot independently determine the price and fare of your business. How does that work? I don't get it.
No. The contract clearly says that if we show that that our cost has gone up, and Lagos State government they stepped up to the plate 3 years ago, and that was the only increase in bus price in 15 years, and that's why we're going back to them again now.
For the second time in 15 years, and I'm wondering how you've been running your business all along. It's quite.
It's been challenging.
It's weird. I mean, if it's been challenging, I'm wondering because if you're telling me that you're about to fold up, I would agree.
I'm not saying.
I would agree. No,
I
I will agree if you're telling me that you're about to fold up because you're saying that this is the second time you're about to adjust your price in 15 years. That is a long time to wait if you're not making profit.
No. We started 4 years ago.
Okay.
We started 4 years ago. Okay? But historically, in Lagos State, there's only been one increase in bus price in 15 years.
Right.
And, we went to Lagos State government 3 years ago to show that this would not work. And we sat down, we negotiated, and they gave us an increase. We're going back to them again. But my question to everybody is, we need to look historically at Lagos State's public transport system.
Right.
The reason why most of them have failed is because they were not able to cover their costs. LMTS, LSTC, all of them.
Yeah.
We need to put it on a sustainable financial footing. The question is, who pays what? But we cannot have our cake and eat it. That's all I'm saying.
But you're passing through those same challenges right now,
and that's why I'm saying that we need to do something so that what happened before will not happen again.
Let me talk to Gbolahan in the studio. Gbolahan, you have heard the submission of Mr. Fola Tinubu and what he said about balancing his books. Because let's face it, it's not easy to run a standard business, not just in Lagos, in Nigeria alone, because of all the influences, all the determining factors that will come to play. The roads are horrible. If you drive on Lagos roads, you know that you practically need to visit your mechanic maybe on a weekly basis. Yes, we understand that BRT have their special lanes, but they are not immune to the state of infrastructure that we got. So one or two ways they will have to incur some costs. Correct. And he's saying that they've not been able to make ends meet in terms of the cost of operation of the BRT lane. How can we make sure that we get Lagosians moving?
For a 20 million population state, transportation is core. It's very important.
Right.
For the most part, we have put too much pressure on the road transportation as it is. Other means of transportation are literally not there. And Mr. Tinubu said something very important. He said, you want services, somebody must pay for it.
Must pay.
So who pays for it? It could either be the private sector or the public sector, or it could be two of them. So if I'm running a business as a private person and I'm running it below cost, definitely I'll be out of business very soon. It's a matter of time.
Right.
So it means that because the nature of the business is an economic infrastructure, so it's very important for the development of the state. It's a core deliverable of the state. So the state has shown interest. The state provided some infrastructure. That's why you have the BRT lane.
Right.
And then the private sector has been called in to do operations. We all know that states don't manage anything that has to do with business properly. But as this is being done on one side, the private sector is running on one side, and government is involved, I think the kind of missing gaps that we have right now is actually meant to be addressed by the government. Look, if what happens, for example, is that the operator sat with government, agree on a price increase, and slam it on the people, there will be complaint, there will be criticism, there will be, because people don't understand what exactly is going on. Where you started from was the fact that, government buy buses.
Right.
Mr. Tinubu said government does not buy buses. Now, we're aware, for example, the public is aware, for example, that there were about, was it 800?
Over 800 buses.
Buses that were being bought. It became a major issue.
Right.
It was a budget issue. So definitely, for it to become a budget issue, and it was something that was paid for by the states.
Right.
That was why it became all that issue. Now, maybe when it is paid for by the state, is it that those buses are not part of what is deployed for operations of the BRT, so that the BRT people buy their own? If they are deployed to the operation of BRT, does it mean that there is a payment
arrangement?
It could be, yeah. The way those agreements are structured, it could be like, look, I will buy these buses, you pay me over
He just said that they bought their buses. Mr. Tinubu is on the line. He said they bought their own buses.
Well, he said they bought their buses. So, for me, these are part of the things that citizens' education will address.
Right.
The private sector will not do it, and I think it behoves on the Lagos State government to be able to tell us exactly what is going on in that next. Otherwise, what you hear people say is they use our money to buy the buses. They are now charging us for
that, and that was why I started with that question, with that particular question, because it's important to put things on the table. Mr. Tinubu has rightly explained that they primarily bought their own buses, themselves. Mr. Tinubu, please stay on the line. Let's get a few calls in. People are calling us and see. Let's take a question or two from those calling us. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello,
good morning. Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Comrade Ayegame Felix.
Talk to us, Comrade.
I'm calling from Oregon, Rikaya.
Good to have you.
Actually, I don't think I'm very comfortable and happy with the situation concerning BRT. Well, my reasons are this. If a man, an individual, went to borrow money from the bank to run a tractor, can take somebody from K2, for example, to BI for 200 naira, then the one that is being run by, let me say, private, so government arrangement, who is taking more than that to that same area. Then, as I look at it, it's like Nigerian leaders are not too concerned about the people than they govern, because their own was supposed to be more cheaper, even times two lower than what a private man is taking. That is when we know that they are subsidizing for us to live.
Right.
If that government is more expensive, giving whatever reason they are going to give to me.
So you think that the BRT fares are more expensive than the other buses on the road?
Sure. Because based on the situation of Nigeria, we are not too comfortable whether the buses are more comfortable in the terms of the covenant.
Right.
But we are too, because of our pocket and the way we live, the situation around the country, we wouldn't mind to even go along with buses without tires. That is why.
Because there are no other options for Nigerians. Mr. Tinubu, you heard what he said. Let me confirm with you whether it's true or not. The fare of BRT is quite much more expensive than those in the other buses.
I've answered the question earlier. It's not.
It's not.
Actually, BRT charges less than, or downfall, they charge less than even Okada.
All right. Let's hear some other people call us. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, this is Peter from Ikorodu.
Peter, talk to me.
Now, the problem is that the whole issue, there is no transparency. Now, the BRT was given special lane. You know how much it's cost to construct a road? What is the parameter? What is the arrangement in this regard? Then another thing is that they said that they buy the buses. Where did they get the money? See, from the state government. Recently, Ambode is being probed by the Lagos State House of Assembly on the purchase of of buses. What is the correlation between this? Then, the Lametta they are talking about, the Ikorodu Road, was built for BRT because we have 2 lanes before.
Right.
Now, this new road now, everybody will say that they built road for Ikorodu is for BRT. Then, what is the relationship of BRT and the government in this regard? Now, what we are talking about is that they said they bought their bus. Where did they get the money? Let us know the relationship between the BRT.
I'm not sure they owe you an obligation.
Can I answer that?
Yes, thanks for calling. Mr. Tinubu, please go on ahead. You can see us laughing in the studio.
I can clearly say that Sterling Bank lent us the money to buy the buses. Okay. The record is out there. We did not take a single kobo from any governmental agency or from any NGOs.
Right.
Every kobo, we raised money, and Sterling Bank stepped to the table to give a loan. The record is out for anybody to see.
Right.
We bought our buses before Governor Akinwumi Ambode came to power. So the 820 buses does not have anything to do with us. Our buses was purchased 2013, 2014. And it came to power 2015.
Right.
So how can there's no correlation between what Governor Akinwumi Ambode did and
what is going on?
Yes,
right now.
that is that information gap that I was talking about.
Right. Because nobody is actually passing these messages across to the people. You can see that you have actually explained this right now, and I'm sure a lot of Lagosians listening right now they are better informed right now as to what the buses are for, who whether you got the buses and you're putting the cost on them or not. But Mr. Tinubu, please hold the line. Let's just take a breather. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll start off with a special report done by one of our chief correspondents, Tunde Pratt, who did a report on this particular topic that we're doing right now. Please stay with us. You're still on the Morning Crossfire, but Olojede is here with me in the studio. Mr. Fola Tinubu is also on the phone line with us. I am Sheriff Quadry, and we're back after the short break.
More talk, news and sports after this.
Take the no, yeah, no, yeah. Eléyìí nǹkan ọgbà olùtẹ́lẹ̀ yìí yọ̀ọ̀dà.
And we're back to the Morning Crossfire on your number one news, talk, and sports station, Nigeria Info.
Recently, the present government, under the leadership of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, restated its commitment to deliver reliable, efficient, safe and effective intermodal transport system that will enhance mass movement of Lagosians. According to the government, this will be achieved through the expansion of BRT routes and the completion of rail and water transportation infrastructure in the state. However, Lagosians are questioning this promise, following reports of planned increase of the BRT fares just 3 years after the last review. Some commuters in the state who rejected the proposed move described it as the height of insensitivity on the part of the government.
We've all been clamoring for private sector to run everything because private sector is supposed to be more efficient. Why are they now coming up after taking up the business and claiming that, suddenly the parameters have changed? They should find cost-saving measures to implement so that their business costs go down.
I don't think there is need for them to increase the fuel. No job, nothing. So if you are stranded, you still afford to get to your destination by that amount.
They have limited bus. It is not even enough for the people who are paying the present transportation, let alone that they will increase the money.
The management is zero. Compared to Ambode, very wrong if they increase it. Instead of, they're supposed to bring it down.
There's no money outside now. The government too should subsidize.
In a quick response, Primero Transport Services Limited, operator of the bus Rapid Transit BRT in the state, called for calm, saying it is yet to announce an increase in the fares, nor fix a date for the commencement of a new fare. The managing director of Primero, Fola Tinubu, who stated this, hinted in an exclusive interview that the company intends to approach LAMATA, the regulating body, to seek an increase first, while asking commuters to wait for the outcome of the meeting.
What I said was we're going to approach the regulators and seek an increase. And how that became an increase, it's until we sit with the regulators, we cannot announce any increase. And some people are even banding out figures that this is what we're increasing it to and all that. And I'm thinking, where are they getting all of this information from? All I said was we will approach the regulators and we will seek an increase.
Tinubu, who did not deny the proposed increase, however, explained that the move was necessary to sustain the scheme.
Yes, to make the operation sustainable, something has to give. On the one hand, everybody's talking about service. We want this service, we want this, we want this, we want this. But nobody's talking about our costs. In 15 years, the price of bus in Lagos has only gone up once. In 15 years, once. And that was 3 years ago. Are you telling me that the cost 15 years ago is what we have right now? And remember, in fact, almost everything we use on the buses are imported. We don't make anything in this country. We don't produce anything in this country.
He further added that the increase was in the best interest of the commuters, warning that if BRT shuts down its operations, the effect would be worse, as downfall drivers would triple their prices.
Do you know that from TBS to Ikorodu, people are paying less than $1? We just spent $1.5 million buying parts to fix buses and put them on the road. People are paying us less than $1. Do you know, even diesel, how much were we paying for diesel 3 years ago? Last week, I just paid 250 naira for a liter of diesel. If this collapses, it's going to be worse for everybody because the dampers are going to jack up their prices almost 3-4 times what everybody's paying right now. So it's in everybody's interest to make sure it does not collapse.
This conversation attracted the Lagos State House of Assembly, which serves as the representative of the people. Reacting to this discussion, the chairman of the Committee on Transportation, Temitope Adedeji Adewale, representing Ifako Ijaye-1, disclosed that the State House of Assembly was looking forward to amending the law of Lagos State Bus Reform Services. He argued that when there are more competitors in the business, fares would be regulated.
As of the moment, we're working on the bus service reform, where we'll have major players, we'll have more people coming to the sector to come and operate on the PPP, public-private partnership, where more buses will be injected into the system, and then the infrastructure needed, the basic infrastructure needed for these buses to run and operate will be provided by the state government. That's where we are. When we have more competitors, then the prices will regulate itself. But as of the moment, when the pressure is too much on one load, which is one person having to provide for the transport needs for the people, then it is a problem. So when Lagos State government decides to inject more buses into the system, Primero will have less load on them.
As Lagosians wait for the meeting between Primero and Lamata on the planned increase, the bus service has assured the people of Lagos of its commitment to provide excellent service and reducing waiting time at various bus stops to get commuters to their destinations. This report was packaged by Babatunde Prat.
.3 Nigeria Info. There you go. The special reports put together by Babatunde Prat and voiced by Quadry Suko. There you go. Mr. Folatinibu, thank you for holding the line. You heard the report, didn't you? Yeah, fantastic. So let me quickly take... goodness me, my phone lines are buzzing. Lagosians want to talk to you. And I have loads of messages as well on WhatsApp. My Facebook is also going out of control right now. Twitter, the same thing. Apparently, Lagosians have been looking for this information you've shared this morning, Mr. Tinubu. They've been looking and searching for this information that you've shared thus far on the program this morning. So let's just take a few comments, then I will come back to you. Let's go to WhatsApp and take this. Godwin. Okay. Somebody wants to know if it's only Primero Transport Services that is the operator of BRT in Lagos. Mr. Tinubu?
Yes.
Is your company the only player?
Lagos State has 14 BRT corridors planned.
Okay.
We are operating on the first one. The second one is the one they are on. It's under construction now. Apulegba to Shodi.
Okay.
So they will bring a concessionaire for each one.
Okay. So for now, where does your company operate?
Ikorodu to TBS.
So, okay. Are there other ones operating apart from your own?
There are other buses on the corridor.
Okay.
You know, there are red buses and white buses on the corridor. So it's not just us.
Okay. So these are different players entirely.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, right? You said that the state government didn't buy the buses, never bought your buses.
No.
And there was this big hullabaloo as to the former governor buying buses, the state government, the state lawmakers wanted to impeach him over not getting permission to buy it. Do you, by any chance, know what those buses are for?
First of all, I'm not the spokesperson for Lagos State government.
Oh, true.
So I cannot speak on behalf of the government. You know, all I know is what you know also, that the previous administration bought some buses.
Right.
And they are running some of them right now. But, you know, exactly what their plans are, Lagos State government will have to...
When you say they are running, are we saying that Lagos State government runs its own transport system?
I believe an agency of Lagos State government is running some of the buses, or Lagos Bus Services Limited is running some of the buses.
Okay. All right. I think that's clear enough. So perhaps the buses that were procured is for the usage of the state government in cushioning the deficits in the buses on Lagos roads. All right, then. This person, no name here, says, who is deceiving who here? Government made us believe they bought the buses, but now we are being told another cock and bull story. Our government still lack transparency and accountability. I think it's clear enough. It's clear enough now.
The issue is they are confusing all the two. Our buses was bought 2014. We started operation just as Governor Kimwamba came to power.
Right.
So he bought the other buses. They came in about a year ago.
Okay.
Or a year and a half. So they are totally different from ours.
And not to add to your fleet, you just bought it.
No, they bought it, and the House of Assembly they are going through all the issues that we are already in the newspapers.
Right.
It's that's a Lagos State government issue. It doesn't have anything to do with Primero. Primero is not involved in any way, shape, or form with the purchase of the buses or with the nothing at all.
Is your company being taxed? Is there anything like a tax on your company? Because from the report we got, the state government is planning now to expand taxation to the transport sector as well as the real estate sector. And I'm wondering whether the transport sector means to tax the downfall drivers, the moonware drivers.
Good luck. good luck taxing the damper drivers.
As it stands right now, is your company being taxed? Are you paying tax to the state government?
Well, we pay taxes on behalf of all our employees. All our employees are, because the state government only collects income taxes.
Okay.
So the state government does not collect corporate taxes. So they only collect income tax, and we pay all our employees pay taxes to Lagos State government.
Indeed. Let's go to Facebook. I have some other comments here on Facebook. Sofidia Shule Michael says, thank you, sir, for this kind of questions you're asking. Mr. Tinubu was not saying the truth at all. Their services was very, very poor. But yet they are proposing an increase in fare. Somebody else mentioned the same thing about your services, Mr. Tinubu, that a lot of people, the buses are packed full with people standing, and yet the same fare is being collected from those sitting down and those standing.
All over the world, you collect the same fare. It's your prerogative whether you want to stand or sit.
Right. Right.
So I've never seen anywhere in the world that they said, "Oh, because you stand, you pay less."
Mr. Tinubu, most of these things are born out of lack of exposure or ignorance or so. But it's it's true because they don't know.
In the Molue days, you pay less when you stand up. So it is that cutover of that mentality into.
And I'm glad we're making things clear this morning. A lot of information have been shared already on the morning Crossfire this morning. So, Mr. Tinubu, another report that we got was that you plan to increase your fare because, according to you, current realities obtainable around. What are these realities?
I just gave you quite a few examples. One is everybody, if I want to cut costs and said, we will reduce our services, everybody's going to start screaming. Everybody's asking me, we want better service, we want more service, we want more service. Services cost money. And whether we like it or not, it has to be paid for.
Well, I'm wondering because I'm asking because the current realities. People want to know why. I'm not asking this for me. The diesel you mentioned, hasn't it gone down? The cost of diesel you mentioned. And if you increase the fare now, when diesel comes down, what happens to the fare of the BRT when diesel comes down, if it's not down yet?
Even yesterday, we bought diesel at $2.20 a liter. Even yesterday, we bought diesel at $220 a liter. And it's not just diesel. I'll give you another example. Hello?
I'm with you, Mr. Tinubu.
I'll give you another example. An average tire supposed to last us a year. But in our case, it lasts us less than 6 months.
Mr. Tinubu, this is business. You entered into this business knowing full well what you're getting into.
Precisely, it's because it's business that it has to be sustainable. A governmental agency can keep on piling up losses. At the end of the day, the taxpayers are there to back it up. A private company cannot. And if a private company says that it's not making money, it either has to do something about its price or it goes under.
Simple as that.
The company must survive.
Precisely.
Right.
And that's what that is what has happened to all the previous companies that's tried to run buses in Lagos.
Indeed. Gbolahan, let me come to you very quickly. Let's talk about transportation system in Lagos. And I'm saying transportation because BRT is part of it. There are also those that are into quotes now, the informal sector, the Danfo drivers, the Molue drivers, the 2K drivers, those small, tiny buses, and the state government is saying they want to begin to tax them. How will this work exactly?
Well, the details, I believe, is something that the government will communicate to.
Let's try and help them. Let's try and help them.
But you see,
because these people already pay some form of tax or the other in their various garages. Who gets this money?
Part of what will have to be done is to also consolidate all those various charges here and there. To know how much exactly do these people pay and what should they pay. Anybody that earns income should pay taxes. That is the right thing.
True.
But we all know, for example, that the Okada riders, you will just see some of them being dragged on the road by some uniform, sometimes uniformed people, and they're collecting money. Some of those money are receipted, which means they probably get to the government. Some of those even receipted probably do not get to the government, and some are not even receipted at all.
Right.
So I think it is important to structure what is going on around those people. And you see, what will eventually happen over time is that the unstructured part, if we cannot structure it, will eventually fizzle out. If we develop the more of the BRT system and put enough buses on the road, and these are structured businesses for which taxes can easily be collected, we will eventually kill those ones that we are unable to structure. That is the reality. So it behoves on that system itself to cooperate with the government to ensure that we can put some elements of structure around it, and the government can collect taxes and also provide.
We have about 20 million Lagosians living here, doing business here, one way or the other. Maybe not all of them will be on the road at the same time, but there is no gainsaying that the population is huge.
Correct.
And there is also no gainsaying that Lagosians waste quite an enormous amount of time in traffic on a daily basis. This can always result into loss of manpower, loss of productivity.
Everything.
And my thought right now is to have more of the BRT system, to have light rail system, to just get Lagos moving.
Even the water.
Yeah, even the water. Exactly.
Yeah.
To just get Lagos moving. But we're planning to get to the state, to that level of mega city. And we're still struggling with this stage. It's almost looking like something.
See,
it will take a magical wand for it to be happened in Lagos here. It's looking impossible.
It's becoming more glaring to the government and the people that we cannot continue to overburden just the road transportation system. All the traffic issues that we see all the time, it's a fairly complex system. There are the roads problem, which you may have inadequate roads for the number of vehicles on that road. There are the cultural issues. The average Lagosian, or maybe even a Nigerian, does not just put the car on the road because he wants to get somewhere. There's also a status symbol part of it. So you can have homes where where one family put 3-4 cars on the road. Wife going differently, husband
from the same family.
From the same family. And that is not because for some of this route they couldn't have boarded a bus. But because there is a status attached to the fact that I have a car and I drive a car. And there is no punishment for, I can always find a place to park. So those things are there, which are fairly complex issues. But the government, one of the priorities of this particular government is also transportation. We must fix it. Look at what happened yesterday.
We have to. We have no choice.
An accident at the Kara end, I believe, of Lagos.
Yes, and shut down everything.
Shut down everything. Totally. And this is not the first time.
And I must say, just to aid you with the point you raised about, people from the same household going about with different cars. I know that in the UK, there are places that you go. You don't even contemplate. I mean, for you to even drive to those places, you must be a millionaire of some sort. Because the kind of toll you pay to even ply those roads, you would think twice about how much you bought the car that you want to put on those kind of roads. And in so doing, this actually brings about decongesting the roads, because you have to think again and go with the public transport instead. Mr. Tinubu, let me ask you one last question before we will let you go. We want to just appreciate you for your time. I didn't intend to hold you back this long, but situation just warranted it. And I'm going to take this thought from our listeners who are sending in messages to us via the WhatsApp portal. This person, your name is John, and he says, please, where is the role of Lagos State in all of this? So what was the noise about? Ambode's buses and Lagos State Assembly all about? The transportation structure in Lagos is ineffective yet. That's John. We can't put that to Mr. Tinubu because that's not his purview. He won't be able to help you with that answer. Okay, let me
say something?
Yes,
Can I say something quickly?
Yes, please.
You just brought a very important issue. Do you know where the congestion charge goes to in London? It actually goes to TfL. That money they collect actually goes to subsidize public transport.
Right.
It does not. The government collects it, and every penny of it goes to TfL. And that's what I'm saying. That we need to have a discussion. Who pays for what?
Right. And that's very apt. Let's see if this caller has a question for you. Hello. Good morning to you.
Hello.
Yes. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Please, I just want to ask Mr. Tinubu 2 questions.
Yes, please.
Number one, he said the buses in 2014. Why does he keep telling us that rates have been increased only once in 15 years when he just came in like 6 years ago?
I'm sure he's not talking about his own rate.
Okay.
And I asked him that question.
Second question is this. The landing cost of diesel is about 198. I'm sure that if they import their own diesel or buy from NNPC or VNC, they will operate more efficiently rather than giving it to contractors who are supplying them at 230. They should get diesel less than 200 naira because that's the landing cost of diesel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for calling.
Can I say something?
Yes,
if
please.
the landing cost for diesel is 200 naira, like he rightly said, they have to truck it to our office. That's a cost.
Sure.
They have, because something lands in Nigeria at 200 does not mean you're going to buy it at 200.
So there will always be additional costs attached to
Precisely,
it.
there will always be. There will always be. Even NNPC will not sell diesel to you at 200, unless you have to go truck it from their depot, and then that means you have to go buy the trucks, you have to pay for it, there are other costs attached to it. See, this is part of my problem. Everybody looks at the revenue side. Nobody bothers about the cost side, because the cost side is a difficult and thorny issue that we, to wrestle with. The easy part is the cost side, or is the revenue side.
Let's see if we have if this caller has got 1 or 2 questions for you as well. Hello, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, my name is Justin. I'm calling from Victoria Island.
Good to have you.
Yeah, please, I want to ask your guest, why is the buses normally, there are times that they are used to announcing, they have this announcement system in the bus that talks about the bus stops and all that.
Yeah.
All the way from probably TBS down to Ikorodu.
Right.
Now, when you have a lot of visually impaired people who board the bus and all that, they depend on this thing. And I found out recently that they no longer do any of those. I don't know why. And a lot of time to coming back from Ikorodu end to the island, and until they get to points like Stadium and Ikpori, that's when they will now start, this thing will start announcing. And sometimes I keep wondering, and for a visually impaired person, they depend on this thing. So I want to know why it is like that.
Right. Thank you for calling.
Can I explain what happened is this? The buses are, in the morning are programmed to make the announcements.
Okay.
But if there's a crisis at TBS, for example, now, and we now pull buses that's supposed to be running from mile 12 to Ikorodu, pull it out to go and help, because the has been programmed, it will not make the announcement until it gets to mile 12.
Okay.
But all the TBS buses that are programmed in the morning will make the announcements.
Okay.
So, but we pull buses out from different services to help other services also. And because of that, and that's what happened. But they still make the announcements.
Indeed.
We should be able to address that anyway.
Mr. Tinubu, thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. We really appreciate
Thank you very much for having me.
your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, then. Mr. Fola Tinubu is the Managing Director of Primary Transport Services Limited. He joined us this morning via telephone. Gbolahan, let's quickly wrap up this program together, talking about, let's wrap up with the plan to expand the tax net in Lagos. Lagos is the commercial nerve center of this country. A lot is happening in the informal sector. If you're planning to expand tax net, you have to have a focus on the informal sector.
Correct.
And how do we focus on the informal sector without discouraging entrepreneurship?
There are the bringing people into the tax net is not just a Lagos State concern. It's actually a Nigerian concern.
Right.
And elements of that have been programmed into the Finance Act, which is why you see the requirement for TIN to operate an account, which is something that a Lagos State can also leverage on.
Right.
Yeah, to bring more people into that tax net. Lagos State also Lagos State has a lot of contact points with its citizens, which you can also use to further the issue of TIN. You have the Lastra there. In fact, any point that collects the same basic information that are required for TIN, it's an opportunity to get that citizen to have a TIN number, even if it is when he commits an offense and is arrested.
Right.
So Lagos State needs to bring more people into that net especially because of his own huge informal sector.
Right.
And this will help rather than overburdening the middle class that already pay the chunk of the taxes. So if we get more people in there and we are also able to show forth what we are doing with tax money,
right,
it is easier to drive taxes up that way. And I believe Lagos State is looking seriously in that direction. Now,
the entrepreneurship area where people are just coming up, struggling to put up business, should there be exemption as to who can be taxed?
Just the same way as you see
in the Finance Act?
In the Finance Act for the federal government situation, similar things will have to be applicable in Lagos as well. So when people are just coming up, you can't tax them to death. Because if you tax them to death, you not only kill that business, you kill all that depends on that business.
Right.
And that is not what government should do. Government should rather encourage employment and entrepreneurship. So once you are small or micro, there has to be a way of ensuring that either you are exempt or if you have to pay taxes, it will be something that could be comfortably paid within the income that person earns.
Absolutely. And there's no gainsaying that Lagos State is one of those states that IGR is quite huge right now. But at the same time, you still cannot meet up with the demand that is on the state, being the largest indebted state in the entire country.
Well, I like to de-emphasize the debt part of it.
Right.
Maybe we should talk more on the accountability side of things. The debt of Lagos State is sustainable. There is nothing to worry about as far as that debt profile is concerned. But Lagos State, like we have seen even this morning, needs to still work more. There is room for improvement in transparency issue. An ordinary citizen, for example, should be able to understand 820 buses and how it fits into our transportation system. It's not just enough for us to hear it about probe and fight. No, that's not important to us, as a matter of fact.
And one thing I'm so glad about is some clarity that we've
been able
established.
to extract.
This morning. It's quite impressive. Well, I want to thank you so much for staying around for this discussion this morning.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Many thanks to the team, Zainab Yakin, Tosin Akirinde, Yvonne Aifo, Babatunde Abdusalam. I am Sheriff Quadry. Tomorrow we have an interesting day ahead of us as well. When I'm done right now, a commercial, some commercials will go on, and then when that is done, the news headlines will come your way, and Tunji Andrews will take over after the news headlines on Money, Business and Economy show. From me, have yourself a great day. I'm Sheriff Quadry.
More talk, news and sports after this.